The classroom at Galactic Academy was full of noise and laughter. Students from different alien species sat in curved rows, their bodies very different from each other. Some had scales that shined under the bright lights. Others had skin that changed colors when they felt strong emotions. A few had too many eyes or arms that bent in strange ways. Marcus Chen sat in the back corner of the room. He was the only human in the class. His plain clothes and simple body made him look boring next to the other students. He kept his eyes on his datapad and did not talk to anyone. Professor Velthar stood at the front. She was tall with purple skin and 4 arms. Her voice was deep and clear. She touched the control panel and a large screen appeared on the wall behind her. "Today we will talk about the human combat ban," she said. "This law was made by the Galactic Council 50 years ago. It stops humans from fighting in any war. They cannot join armies. They cannot fight in sports competitions. They cannot even compete in fighting games." The screen showed an official document with many stamps and signatures. The title said, Resolution 7 Alpha, Universal Human Combat Ban. A student in the front row started laughing. His name was Crixel. He was a Zorvathi, which meant he looked like a giant insect. He had hard shell armor on his body, sharp claws and mandibles that could cut through metal. He was almost 8 feet tall. "This is stupid," Crixel said loudly. "Humans are weak. Why would anyone ban them from fighting? That makes no sense." Other students started laughing too. A Catherine student named Thesara spoke up. The Catherine looked like thin gray creatures with large heads. They could read thoughts and feelings from other beings. "I agree," Thesara said in her soft voice. "I have met humans before. They are gentle. They smile a lot. They like to help others. How could they be dangerous?" A massive Draxian student named Gormath laughed so hard his desk shook. The Draxians were huge reptile creatures with thick scales and powerful muscles. Gormath was 12 feet tall and weighed over 1,000 pounds. "Their planet has only 1 times gravity," Gormath said. "That is so light. My home planet has 3 times gravity. I could break a human with 1 hand." "Why would anyone be scared of them?" More students joined in the mocking. They made jokes about how small humans were. They laughed about human weakness. They said the ban was just politics to make humans feel important. Professor Velthar raised one of her hands. The talking got quieter but did not stop completely. "Students, please," she said. But even she had a small smile on her face. The council had reasons for this ban. We should respect their decision. Crixel turned around in his seat. He looked directly at Marcus. "What do you think, human?" Crixel asked. His voice was loud and mean. "Do you feel special because of this stupid ban? Do you think it makes you look strong?" All the students turned to look at Marcus. The room became very quiet. Marcus slowly looked up from his datapad. His face showed no emotion. "No," Marcus said quietly. "I do not feel special." "Then you agree the ban is stupid?" Crixel pressed. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "The ban is there for a good reason." The class laughed again. Gormath slapped his desk with his huge hand. "What reason?" the big Draxian asked. "To protect the galaxy from weak little humans." Marcus looked at each of the laughing students. His expression was sad. "No," he said softly. "To protect the galaxy from what we become when we fight." The laughter got louder. Students made jokes and rude comments. Professor Velthar tried to bring the class back to order, but she was not trying very hard. Crixel turned back to face the front. He was still laughing with his friends. "These humans think they are so special," he said to the student next to him. "I bet the ban was just political theater. Someone wanted to give them attention." Marcus said nothing more. He went back to his datapad. His hands were shaking just a little bit, but nobody noticed. The class continued. Professor Velthar talked about other galactic laws and rules. The alien students slowly forgot about the human combat ban. They thought it was a stupid law that did not matter. But as the class ended and students packed their bags, Crixel had an idea. He leaned over to Thesara and Gormath. "We should find out why they really made this ban," he whispered. "I want to see the real reason. I bet it will be funny." Thesara tilted her head. Her large eyes showed interest. "How?" she asked. "The Academy Archive," Crixel said with a grin. "All Galactic Council records are there. We just need to find the file." Gormath nodded his huge head. "Good idea," the Draxian said. "Let us go tonight after dinner. We can laugh at the stupid humans even more when we see the truth." The 3 students left the classroom together. They were excited to prove how silly the human combat ban was. Marcus watched them go. He heard what they said. He closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. Then he quickly left the classroom and headed in the same direction as the other students. He had to try to stop them. They did not understand what they were about to see. The Academy archive was in the basement of the main building. It was a huge room filled with computers and data storage units. Blue lights glowed from thousands of machines. The air was cold because the computers needed to stay cool. Crixall, Thesara, and Gormath entered the archive room. It was late at night and the room was empty. Most students were in their dorms or at the dining hall. This should be easy, Crixall said. He walked to one of the computer terminals and sat down. His clawed fingers clicked on the keyboard. The screen showed the archive search page. Crixall typed in the words "human combat ban." Many results appeared on the screen. There were news articles, student reports, and public documents. But Crixall wanted something different. "These are just basic files," he said. "I want the original council documents." "The real reasons?" Thesara stepped closer. She placed her thin hand near the computer. Her people had special abilities. They could connect their minds to computers and search faster than normal typing. "Let me help," she said. Her eyes closed and her head tilted back. A soft glow appeared around her fingers. The computer screen started changing very fast. Windows opened and closed. Files appeared and disappeared. Thesara was searching through thousands of documents in seconds. Suddenly, the screen turned red. Big words appeared. "Access denied, restricted files, security clearance required." Gormath leaned over to look at the screen. "Restricted?" he said. "Why would they hide these files?" "That makes me more curious," Crixall said with excitement. "Thesara, can you get past the security?" Thesara opened her eyes. She looked worried. "This is against the rules," she said softly. "We could get in big trouble." "We will not get caught," Crixall said. "Nobody is here, and we just want to look. We will not change anything or steal anything. We just want to see why they made this stupid ban." Thesara was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded and closed her eyes again. The glow around her fingers got brighter. The screen flashed many different colors. Security warnings appeared and then disappeared. Thesara's face showed she was working very hard. After 5 minutes, the screen changed. The red warning went away. A new file appeared. The file name was Incident Report. Kepler 442b Colonial Uprising. Justification for Resolution 7 Alpha, Human Combat Ban. "That is it," Crixall said happily. "Open it." But when Thesara tried to open the file, more warnings appeared. Warning. This file requires 5 separate biometric confirmations. Warning. Psychological hazard. Not recommended for empathic species. Warning. Viewer discretion strongly advised. Gormath laughed. "Psychological hazard? From watching humans? This is ridiculous." 5 confirmations is very unusual," Thesara said. "I have never seen that before." "It is probably just council paranoia," Crixall said. "They make everything seem important." "Can you download the file?" Thesara worked on the computer for a few more minutes. Then a small light blinked on the side of the terminal. "A data chip came out. I got it," she said. She picked up the chip and looked at it. "The file is labeled Evidence File 1, Arena Footage, Final Sanctioned Human Combat Event." "Arena footage," Crixall said with interest. "So we get to watch a human fight? This will be entertaining." The 3 students quickly left the archive room. They walked through the empty hallways toward the dorm buildings. They were excited to watch the video, but as they walked they did not notice Marcus following them at a distance. He had been waiting outside the archive room. When he saw them come out with happy faces, his heart sank. He knew what they had found. Marcus ran to catch up with them. He reached them just as they were entering Crixall's dorm room. "Wait," Marcus called out. His voice was loud and urgent. The 3 aliens turned to look at him. Crixall held up the data chip. "Look what we found, human," he said with a mean smile. "Video proof of why your species is so dangerous." Marcus stepped closer. His face was very serious. "Please," he said quietly. "Please do not watch that. You do not understand what you are about to see." "That makes us want to watch it even more," Gormath said with a laugh. Marcus looked at each of them. His eyes were sad and scared. "There is a reason those files are locked away," he said. "There is a reason they have warnings. What you are going to see is not who we are anymore, but it is what we were, And it is what we can become again if we are not careful. Crixal pushed past Marcus into the dorm room. You are just trying to stop us because you are embarrassed, the Zorvathi said. We are watching this video. You cannot stop us. Thessera looked at Marcus for a moment. She could feel his emotions. She felt his fear and his sadness. It confused her. Why are you so worried? She asked. Marcus met her eyes. Because you are about to learn why every human in the galaxy fought to keep the ban, he said. We are not proud of what you are going to see. We never wanted anyone to see it. But if you're going to watch it anyway, then I hope you will understand why we need that ban to stay in place. Gormath pulled Thessera into the room. Crixal closed the door in Marcus's face. Marcus stood in the hallway for a long moment. He put his hand against the door. Then he slowly walked away. He knew what they were about to see. He had seen it before during his history classes on Earth. Every human student had to watch it once. It was part of their education about why the ban was necessary. He remembered how he felt after watching it. He remembered the nightmares. He remembered understanding for the first time what his species was truly capable of. And now his classmates were about to learn the same terrible lesson. Inside Crixal's dorm room, the three students gathered around a large viewing screen. Crixal inserted the data chip into the player. The screen turned on with a soft blue glow. Text appeared on the screen. It was an official Galactic Council header with many stamps and seals. The date shown was 45 years ago. A voice began speaking. It was a council observer reading from a report. This recording documents the final sanctioned human combat event before the implementation of Resolution 7 Alpha. The location is Kepler 442b, a colony world with both human settlers and indigenous Zorvathi population. Crixal leaned forward with interest. Kepler 442b was a Zorvathi colony world. The voice continued. A territorial dispute arose between human settlers and the Zorvathi hive. According to galactic law, such disputes may be settled through sanctioned combat. Each side selects a champion. The champions fight until one side surrenders or cannot continue. The winner's people gain rights to the disputed territory. The screen changed to show a large arena. Thousands of aliens filled the seats. The arena floor was dirt and stone. Bright lights shined down from above. The Zorvathi chose their finest warrior, the voice said. Warmaster Thexcal, holder of 127 victories. He has never been defeated in sanctioned combat. A gate opened on one side of the arena. A massive Zorvathi warrior walked out. He was 8 feet tall with thick armored shell covering his body. His mandibles were huge and sharp. His claws looked like they could cut through steel. The crowd cheered loudly. Crixal's mandibles clicked with pride. Thexcal was his great-grandfather, the legendary warrior that all young Zorvathi learned about in school. The humans chose Captain Sarah Reeves, the voice said. Age 32. Height 5 feet 6 inches. Weight 140 pounds. The other gate opened. A small human woman walked into the arena. She wore simple combat armor and carried a basic energy weapon. Compared to the huge Zorvathi warrior, she looked tiny. Gormath started laughing. That is their champion? She is so small. This fight will be over in seconds. Even Thessera looked confused. Why did they choose her? She has no chance against a War Master. On the screen, an announcer's voice boomed through the arena. Champions, ready yourselves. The combat begins on my signal. Victory goes to the one who makes their opponent surrender or unable to continue. Death is not required but is permitted under galactic law. The two fighters took their positions. The human woman, Sarah, stood very still. Her face showed no fear. She just stared at her opponent with calm eyes. Thexcal raised his claws and roared. The sound was loud and terrifying. It echoed through the arena. Sarah did not react. She did not flinch. She just kept staring. Begin! The announcer shouted. Thexcal charged forward with incredible speed. His claws reached for Sarah's body. The attack was so fast it looked like a blur, but Sarah was not there anymore. She had moved to the side at the last second. Thexcal's claws hit empty air. The three students watching stopped laughing. That was impressive movement. On screen, multiple commentators were talking. They were different alien species giving their analysis of the fight. The human is fast, one commentator said, but speed alone will not save her. One direct hit from Thexcal and she is finished. Look at her heart rate on the monitor, another said. It is dropping. Is she going into shock already? A third voice spoke. No, that is voluntary control. She is slowing her own breathing and heart rate. Remarkable. Thexcal attacked again and again. Each time Sarah dodged, she moved like water flowing around his strikes. But she was not attacking back. She was just avoiding. Why is she not fighting back? Gormith asked. She is studying him, Thessara said softly, learning his patterns. After 2 minutes of attacks, Thexcal began to slow down. His movements were still fast, but not as fast as before. He was getting tired. That was when Sarah made her first attack. She fired her energy weapon at Thexcal's leg joint, the small gap in his armor. The shot hit perfectly. Thexcal roared in pain. He swung his massive arm at Sarah. This time the blow connected. His clawed hand hit her left arm. The sound of breaking bone was loud and clear. Sarah's arm bent at a wrong angle. It was obviously broken. The 3 students expected her to scream. They expected her to surrender. That was what any sensible fighter would do. But Sarah did not scream. She did not even make a sound. Her face stayed calm. She just looked at her broken arm for 1 second. Then she switched her weapon to her right hand and kept fighting. Crixall's mandibles stopped moving. That was not normal. That was not how pain worked. The commentators in the recording sounded confused too. Her arm is completely broken. Why is she not stopping? Her pain response seems to be suppressed. How is that possible? The fight continued. Sarah was now more aggressive. She attacked Thexcal's weak points over and over. His leg joints, his eye areas, the soft parts between his armor plates. Every shot was precise and calculated. Thexcal was strong and skilled. But he was not used to fighting someone who would not stop even when badly hurt. His fighting style depended on making opponents afraid. Sarah showed no fear at all. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The fight kept going. Thexcal landed more hits. Sarah's ribs cracked. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her head. But she did not stop. When her weapon ran out of energy, she dropped it and picked up a piece of broken rock from the arena floor. She used it like a club. When she lost that rock, she used her broken arm as a weapon, swinging it at Thexcal's face. The 3 students were no longer making jokes. They sat in complete silence. They watched with growing horror as the human woman refused to stop fighting even when any logical being would have surrendered. Of the commentators said something that made them all feel cold. This is not normal combat behavior. Our analysis computers cannot predict her next move. Her tactics do not match any known fighting style in our database. It is like she is not fighting to win. She is fighting to survive, and she will not stop surviving until one of them is dead. The video kept playing. The fight was now 20 minutes long, then 30 minutes, then an hour. Crixall watched his great-grandfather begin to make mistakes. The legendary warrior who had never lost was getting tired. His movements were slower. His attacks were not as accurate, but the human kept going at the same pace. Broken and bleeding, she moved with the same cold determination she had shown at the start. And slowly, terribly, the 3 students began to understand. They were not watching a fight between warriors. They were watching a human do what humans had done for millions of years on their home planet. They were watching a persistence hunter chase its prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Sarah Reeves was not trying to defeat Thexcal in combat. She was trying to outlast him, and it was working. The fight entered its 3rd hour. Thexcal's armor was cracked in many places. His mandibles were broken. Green blood dripped from wounds all over his body. He had never fought for this long before. No opponent had ever lasted more than 20 minutes against him. Sarah Reeves looked even worse. Her left arm hung uselessly at her side. Both her eyes were swollen. Blood covered most of her body. Several ribs were broken. But her movements never slowed down. She kept attacking with mechanical precision. The crowd in the arena had gone silent. Nobody was cheering anymore. They were all watching with confusion and growing fear. A new voice appeared on the recording. It was a human observer speaking to someone from the Galactic Council. "You need to understand something," the human said. His voice sounded sad and tired. "You invited a persistence predator species into a death match. Every human ancestor for 4 million years was either a predator or prey. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain not because we were the strongest, not because we were the fastest. We made it because we never stopped coming." The council member sounded shocked. "What do you mean?" "On Earth we hunted animals much bigger and stronger than us," the human explained. "We did not kill them in one attack. We tracked them for days. We chased them until they were too tired to run anymore. We ran them until their bodies gave out from exhaustion. Then we killed them. That is what you are watching right now. That is what we are." In the dorm room, Thessera put her hand over her mouth. Her empathic abilities let her feel some of what Sarah was feeling through the recording. What she felt was nothing like normal emotion. It was cold. It was focused. It was empty of everything except the need to keep moving forward. On screen, Thexcal stumbled. He was exhausted. His body was not built for fights that lasted hours. The Zorvathi were ambush predators. They attacked fast and hard. They were not built for endurance. Sarah saw him stumble. She moved forward quickly. She struck at his damaged leg. Thexcal fell to one knee. He tried to rise, but his body would not obey. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "War Master Thexcal is unable to continue. The victor is Captain Sarah Reeves of Humanity." But Sarah did not stop. She moved toward the fallen Zorvathi. Her face showed something that made the three students feel sick with fear. It was not anger. It was not hate. It was just empty determination. She raised a piece of broken metal above Thexcal's head. "The fight is over," the announcer shouted. "Stop, you have won." Sarah did not seem to hear. She brought the metal down. Arena guards rushed forward and grabbed her. It took 6 large aliens to pull her away from Thexcal. Even then she fought against them. She tried to get back to her opponent. Crixel made a sound like a gasp. Now he understood why his great-grandfather never talked about this fight. It was not just a loss. It was something much worse. He had faced something that should not exist. A creature that could not be stopped by pain or exhaustion or reason. The video changed. It showed medical teams treating both fighters. Then it cut to a report from a Catherine psychologist. The psychologist's face looked disturbed. "I have examined Captain Reeves's neural patterns during the combat," the psychologist said. "What I found is deeply troubling. Humans have the ability to voluntarily trigger a psychological state that suppresses pain, fear, and rational thought. In this state, they cannot be reasoned with. They do not respond to surrender signals. They fight until victory or death. Nothing else exists for them." The report continued with more incidents. Different human fighters in different combat situations, all showing the same pattern. They fought far longer than should be possible. They ignored injuries that would stop other species. They showed a capacity for violence that went beyond normal combat. One report showed a human soldier who kept fighting for 7 hours with a broken spine. Another showed a human who won a match despite losing 3 fingers. A third showed a human who defeated an opponent twice their size through pure endurance. Then came historical records from Earth itself. Wars between human nations. Millions of humans killing millions of other humans with weapons that became more terrible with each passing century. Humans creating weapons designed specifically to kill other humans more efficiently. The final document appeared on screen. It was the Galactic Council's conclusion. After extensive study, this council has determined that humanity possesses a unique and dangerous capacity for violence. This capacity is not the result of physical strength. It is the result of psychological adaptations that allowed them to become the dominant species on a death world. They can enter a mental state where normal behavioral limits do not apply. More concerning is their history of warfare. No other species in the galaxy has engaged in such extensive conflict with their own kind. Human history is defined by violence against other humans. They have killed billions of each other over resources, ideas, and territory. Humanity must be banned from all forms of combat. This ban is not to protect the galaxy from human physical capability. It is to prevent humans from entering psychological states that they themselves do not fully control. It is to protect them from their own nature. In the most literal sense, humans are born warriors who had to build civilization in spite of their instincts. They are persistence predators who learn to work together instead of hunting each other. The ban is necessary not because humans are too strong, but because they do not know when to stop. The video ended. The screen went black. The dorm room was completely silent. Crixel sat frozen in his chair. His mandibles would not stop shaking. That was his great-grandfather in the video, the legendary warrior, the undefeated champion. And he had been defeated not by a stronger opponent, but by something that refused to accept defeat. Thessera was crying. Tears ran down her gray face. Through her empathic connection to the recording, she had felt echoes of Sarah Reeves's mental state during the fight. It was the most terrifying thing she had ever experienced. That cold, empty focus. That complete absence of fear or doubt. Just forward movement until the threat was eliminated. Gormath, the massive Draxian who had bragged about his strength, sat very still. He was thinking about what the human observer had said. Persistence predators, creatures that hunted by never stopping. He tried to imagine fighting something that would not quit no matter how much damage it took. The thought made him feel small. Minutes passed. Nobody spoke. They just sat in the dark room trying to process what they had seen. Finally, Crixell spoke. His voice was quiet and shaking. "We thought the ban was to protect the galaxy from humans," he said. "But it is not. It is to protect humans from themselves, and to protect us from what they become when they fight." Nobody disagreed. They all understood now. The human combat ban was not an insult. It was not politics. It was necessary, for everyone's safety, but most of all for the humans themselves. There was a soft knock on the door. Nobody moved. The knock came again, a little louder this time. Crixell slowly stood up and opened the door. Marcus stood in the hallway. His face was sad but not surprised. He had known what they would find in that recording. "You watched it," Marcus said quietly. It was not a question. Crixell just nodded. He could not find words. Marcus stepped into the room and looked at the 3 alien students. They all looked shaken. Gormath was the first to speak. His deep voice was much quieter than usual. "You choose to be like that?" he asked. "You can voluntarily enter that state?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "Every human can. We call it different things. Battle rage, the zone, fight-or-flight response taken to an extreme. Our bodies flood with chemicals that turn off pain and fear. Our minds narrow to a single purpose: survive, win, eliminate the threat. Nothing else matters." He sat down in an empty chair and looked at his hands. "The ban is not to protect you from us," Marcus continued. "It is to protect us from ourselves, from what we become when we fight. Sarah Reeves spent 5 years in therapy after that match. She has nightmares about what she did. She cannot forget the feeling of wanting to keep hurting someone even after they were defeated." The Sarah wiped tears from her face. "I felt her," the Catherine said. "Through the recording, I felt what her mind was like during the fight. It was empty, so empty. Just movement and reaction. No thought. No feeling, like a machine programmed to destroy." Marcus nodded. "That is exactly what it is. Our ancestors needed that ability to survive. When a predator attacked or when they hunted dangerous prey, they could not afford to think too much. They needed to act, so our brains developed the ability to turn off everything except the fight response. But we are not hunting in the wilderness anymore. We are civilized now. We do not need that ability. But we still have it." Crixell spoke up. His voice was respectful in a way it had never been before when talking to Marcus. "That was my great-grandfather in the recording," he said. "Vexkal. He was the greatest warrior in Zorvathi history. He won 127 fights. He taught combat to 3 generations of warriors. But he never spoke about the fight with Sarah Reeves. Now I understand why." The Zorvathi lowered his head in a gesture of submission and respect. "I am sorry," Crixell said. "I mocked you. I mocked your people. I thought the ban was stupid. I was wrong. Please forgive me." Marcus stood up and placed his hand on Crixell's shoulder. "You are forgiven," he said. "You did not know. Most aliens do not understand. Even some humans do not understand. That is why the recordings are locked away. That is why we do not talk about it." Gormath leaned forward in his chair. "What happened to Sarah Reeves?" he asked. "After the therapy. Where is she now?" Marcus pulled out his data pad and showed them a picture. It was an older human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She was surrounded by small human children. They were all smiling. "She is a kindergarten teacher," Marcus said. "She works with 5-year-old children. She teaches them to read and play and be kind to each other. She has done that for 30 years now." The 3 aliens stared at the picture. The gentlewoman in the photo looked nothing like the fighter they had seen in the recording. "That is what I am trying to tell you," Marcus said. "That is who we really are. We are not warriors. We are teachers and artists and scientists and parents. But we have the capacity to become warriors if we need to, and that capacity scares us. Because once we start, it is very hard to stop." He put his data pad away and looked at each of them. "The galaxy did us a great favor with the ban," he said. "They gave us a reason to never enter that state again. Some humans think the ban is insulting. They think it makes us look weak. They want it repealed. but they are wrong. We need the ban, not to protect you from us, to protect us from ourselves. Thisara stood up. She walked over to Marcus and did something that surprised everyone. She hugged him. In Kithrine culture, physical contact was rare and significant. It meant deep respect and understanding. "We will help you keep the ban," she said softly. "We will make sure others understand why it exists. You should not have to carry this burden alone." Crixel and Gormath both nodded in agreement. Over the next few days, the three students worked together with Marcus. They submitted an anonymous report to Academy officials about the security breach, but they also made a recommendation. They suggested that sanitized versions of the historical records should be included in mandatory curriculum. Not to scare students, but to help them understand. If the galaxy was going to live alongside humanity, they needed to know the truth. They needed to understand that humans were not weak. They were not pathetic. They were a species that had climbed to the top of a death world through sheer determination and the ability to never give. But they also needed to understand that humans themselves recognized this capacity as dangerous, that humans had chosen civilization over violence, that they had accepted the ban not as an insult but as a gift. The Academy approved the recommendation. Within a year, new courses were created. Students learned about human history, human psychology, and the reasons for the ban. The mocking stopped. Understanding replaced fear and contempt. One evening, Marcus sat in the campus courtyard. Crixel found him there and sat down beside him. They watched the sun set over the alien landscape in comfortable silence. Finally, Crixel spoke. "I spoke with my family," he said. "I told them I finally understand what happened to great-grandfather Thexcal." They were grateful. He carried shame for many years because he thought he had failed. But he did not fail. He faced something that should not exist and survived. That is not failure. That is victory. Marcus smiled sadly. "Tell them that Sarah Reeves says the same thing," he said. "She told me once that she thinks about that fight every day. She wishes she could apologize to him. She wishes she could tell him that it was not personal. It was just instinct, just ancient programming that she could not control. Maybe someday they can meet," Crixel said, "and they can both find peace." "Maybe," Marcus agreed. They sat in silence for a while longer. Above them, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Millions of stars representing millions of worlds where millions of different species lived together in peace. And on one of those worlds, in a small classroom, an elderly human woman taught young children to share and be kind and solve problems with words instead of violence. She taught them to be better than their instincts, to choose civilization over nature, because that was what humanity had chosen. Not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to recognize their own capacity for violence and wise enough to know it should never be unleashed again. The human combat ban would remain in place, not as a punishment or an insult, but as a reminder that sometimes the strongest choice is to choose not to fight at all.